لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى من تبعهم وعمل بعملهم واستنى بسنتهم إلى يوم الدين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما أما بعد. All praise and thanks and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our Prophet and Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of our own selves and from the wrongs of our deeds. Whoever is guided by Allah will never go astray, and whoever goes astray can only be guided by Allah. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, alone without partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Allah's messenger, prophet and servant. I remind myself and I remind you to follow the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to apply them to your daily lives. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to talk a little bit today about human behavior and how we as human beings interact with each other, because there is a difference in how we are treating each other today compared to the past. And I'm not talking about the past of 500 years ago. If we just think of our grandparents, each one of you think of your grandparents. They were much different than we were. They were more courteous. They were much more respectful of others. They assumed the best in people. They gave people the benefit of the doubt. They never lied or cheated. They treated people with kindness and compassion. And what has happened over the past 20 to 40 years is that people's behavior has changed. And not just Muslims, everybody. People's behavior has changed. People have become more suspicious of each other, less sensitive to the feelings of each other, less likely to use pleasantries in the way they talk and address other people, less respectful of other people, less likely to give people the benefit of the doubt, and to really think about their situation before passing judgment or before making a comment. In fact, many people make comments without thinking. This has become a common and normal behavior, that people speak before they think. So they speak and then they think. It should be the other way around. We should think first and then we should speak. But nowadays, and all of you are smiling because you know that what I'm saying is true. It happens every day. People talk and then they regret what they said. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, maybe I should have said something different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, من بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُوا الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and tell my servants to say that which is better. To say that which is better, which means you have a choice of saying different things, and you always have to choose the better thing to say. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, and say to people good things. So you have a choice. You can say bad things or you can say good things. Allah is saying, say the good thing. Always think of what you're going to say and say it properly. Be sensitive to other people. I want to share with you, I'm going to tell you, of course, about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he was a master at treating people with respect, at being considerate of people. of not having suspicion of people, of finding an excuse for them. If he sees something he doesn't like or thinks it's wrong, he will try to help them. And before I tell you of the Prophet ﷺ, I want to share with you a story that happened in New York City. This story was relayed by a man by the name of Stephen Covey. Some of you may know him. He wrote a very famous book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he explains that one day he was on the subway in New York City. So the subway goes under the ground and takes people from place to place. Alhamdulillah, we don't have any subways here, but they have a subway over there. And he said that on one Sunday morning he rode on the subway. And when he entered the subway, everybody was quiet. There were people reading, other people were taking a nap, other people were just sitting quietly, waiting until they reached their destination. And suddenly, at one of the stops, a man and his 2 children entered the subway, entered the car that he was in. And the man sat next to him and tilted his head back and closed his eyes. And the 2 children, his children, were running around the subway, yelling and screaming and bothering everybody. Taking the newspaper out from someone, hitting this person, touching that person. They were rambunctious and loud, and they were disturbing the peace that was present in the subway. So Stephen Covey goes on to say, and I thought this father doesn't care about his children. I mean, he's just letting them run around and be loud, and you know, he's just taking a nap. I mean, what is wrong with this guy? He said, but I was patient, and I waited. But then I couldn't be patient anymore. This kept going on. And I had to say something. So I woke him up. And I said, maybe you should take care of your children. You know, they're creating a loud mess here and they're disturbing everybody. And he said the man woke up as if he didn't even know what was happening. He was not paying attention to the situation that was occurring before I woke him up. And he said, I'm so sorry. Yes, I should take care of my children. We just left the hospital. An hour ago, their mother died. And I'm thinking about my wife. And they are angry and running around because they are sad. Because they knew they will never see their mother again. SubhanAllah. Stephen Covey said, I immediately changed. I felt embarrassed for myself. How could I have woken him up and told him that? How could I have assumed that he's a careless father? He said, and I changed my tune. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can help you with? And everyone who was sitting there, when they heard him say that, they also changed. They were irritated, but now they became sympathetic and compassionate with him. He just lost his wife an hour ago in the hospital. SubhanAllah. The point of the story is, be careful. Don't pass judgment. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Try to understand their situation. I see this in the masajid all the time. Oh, people bring their kids and they're running around and they don't care about them. You know, understand the situation. Don't just assume right away that they're careless parents, that they don't care. Talk to them, understand. Be compassionate. Assume the best in people. The Prophet ﷺ, this is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, selected some of the Sahaba to collect the zakat. So it was time for people to pay their zakat, and he assigned certain individuals to go and collect the zakat. So they went around and they collected the money of zakat. Money and whatever else was due. Gold, silver, whatever it be. And they came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they said, we collected the money of zakat, but there were 3 people who refused to pay. You see, they used the word refused. He refused indicates that those people are bad people. They're not paying their zakat that's required. See? He said 3 people refused. He said, who are these 3 people? They said Ibn Jamil, one of the Sahaba. And Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid ibn al-Walid, one of the great Sahaba. And Al-Abbas. Al-Abbas is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and a great Sahabi. And Al-Abbas. And they were saying it in a way that they were kind of smirking, like, they disobey the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ordered them to pay their zakat, and they disobeyed. You see? Like they're bad people. Okay, you got to do something about it. The Prophet ﷺ said, cool down, relax. Ibn Jamil, the first Sahabi, he was very poor. He didn't have any money to pay zakat. He just became wealthy recently. He had a business and he just became recently wealthy. So the zakat is not due. You have to have the money for a year before you pay zakat. So he hasn't had it for it's just recent. So zakat is not due. Khalid ibn al-Walid doesn't have it because he came and he dedicated all of his money fi sabilillah to the Muslim army. So he doesn't own anything. Khalid ibn al-Walid doesn't own anything. You have to own money before you pay zakat. He doesn't own anything. He dedicated all his money fi sabilillah. And Al-Abbas already paid his zakat early. And he paid double. Subhanallah. He paid early and he paid double. So I already got it from him. He already paid early. وَمَعَهَا مِثْلُهَا. And he doubled. He paid twice. Relax. Don't pass judgment. Don't say, oh, these people refused. No, they did not refuse. They had a reason they didn't have to pay zakat. One hadn't had the money for a year. The other one doesn't have any money. And the third one already paid it. And in fact paid more than anyone else. SubhanAllah, don't pass judgment. Don't pass judgment on these people without understanding the situation. SubhanAllah. Sometimes people say things without thinking. I already told you this earlier. But even if that happens, that doesn't mean that we have to get on their case and get upset and angry and assume the worst. It's okay. Sometimes you can find them an excuse. Sometimes you can understand what they're trying to say. This happened to Al-Imam al-Shafi'i. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i was sick one day. He was sick. And a man came to visit him. And this man was his friend. He was his close friend. So when he entered and he saw Imam al-Shafi'i was sick, he decided to make a dua for him. But what he said was, قَوَّ اللَّهُ ضَعْفَكَ. May Allah make your weakness stronger. What do you mean make my weakness stronger? Imam Shafi'i looked at him. What is this guy saying? He wants me to get weaker? He wants the weakness to get stronger. That means I'm going to get weaker. He said, if my weakness gets stronger, I'll die. So the man smiled and he realized that he misspoke. He didn't mean that way. He meant that Allah turn your weakness into strength. That's what he really meant. And he said, yeah, Imam, I did not mean that. He felt embarrassed. And he said, I only meant good for you. I wanted you to be stronger. And Imam Shafi'i smiled and he said, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I know. And then he told him something very important. He said, I know that even if you walked in here and you insulted me, that you would want nothing from your insult but good towards me. I know that in your heart you want what's good for me. Don't worry. Don't be embarrassed. We are friends. SubhanAllah. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. We say things sometimes and we don't think about how it comes out. It comes out the wrong way. It doesn't come out the way we want to. Don't jump on that person and say, what are you saying? How dare you? Relax. People make mistakes. It's okay. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu told us, when your brother says something and it sounds bad, don't assume the worst. If you can find a way to interpret it in a good way, don't assume the worst. Try to find a good way to interpret what someone tells you that you don't like. Subhanallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one day he was in the masjid doing i'tikaf. He was in the last 10 days of Ramadan and he was doing i'tikaf in the masjid. And while he was doing i'tikaf, his wife, Safiya, al-Mu'mineen radiallahu anha, she had to come and tell him something. She had to come and tell him something. So she dressed up, so she was covered, so people couldn't see her. So she dressed up and she went to the masjid and she talked to Rasulullah just for a minute, just wanted to tell him something. And then she walked out and he walked with her to the door of the masjid. He didn't leave the masjid, he just walked her to the door of the masjid. And while he was there standing in the door and she was walking out, two of the Ansar were walking by in the street. And they saw Rasulullah standing there with a woman, but they didn't know who the woman was. So they began to speed up. So they were walking casually and slowly, and suddenly they started to speed up. Now, why they sped up, we don't know, but the thought was that they kind of didn't want to embarrass Rasulullah ﷺ, that he was standing there talking to a woman and they just wanted to leave. Rasulullah ﷺ said, slow down. Why are you running? Slow down. This is Safiya. This is my wife Safiya. Slow down, it's okay. This is my wife Safiya. She came to talk to me. Now, can you imagine how they felt now, the two Sahaba? They think that Rasulullah ﷺ thought that they thought he was talking to a woman he shouldn't be talking to. You see how suspicion happens? So now they were embarrassed. And they said, no way, Rasulullah, we would never think badly of you. They immediately denied. They said, we would never think badly of you. Rasulullah ﷺ said some beautiful words. He said, the shaitan, listen carefully to this is so true. The shaitan runs through a human being the same way that the blood runs through your blood vessels. Imagine? That's how deep the shaitan can come into your heart. The same way that blood is running all over your body, the shaitan can come into your heart the same way. The same depth, the same strength. And he can play games with your mind and make you think things. And he said the shaitan can come into your heart the same way that the blood runs in your vessels. So I want to clarify, just in case you thought a bad thought. SubhanAllah. Rasulullah is teaching us a lesson. Don't be suspicious. Be careful. Don't believe everything everyone tells you. Someone, oh, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. No, don't get into it. You shouldn't be talking about other people anyway. I'll get back to that later. But be careful. Don't be suspicious. When al-Mu'mineen, Aisha radiallahu anha, was accused of fornication. All of us know the story of an ifk. Maybe we'll have a khutbah one day about an ifk. But she was accused of fornication. This is the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is accused of fornication. Can you imagine how difficult that is? And many people in Medina at the time, believers, Muslims, believed it. Believed it. They believed the rumor. It was a rumor. Completely unfounded. It was a rumor. And in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in Surah An-Nur that she was innocent. And that this was a total and complete fabrication. And that no fornication had occurred. But after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the true story and tells us that she is innocent, He asks a beautiful question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nur, من بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. Why is it when you heard it, meaning the rumor, did not the believing men and women think good of one another? This is an obvious falsehood. So Allah is telling us, when you hear these kinds of rumors, you should say they're wrong. You have to think good. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume the worst. He's teaching us a lesson from this incident. This happens every day, all the time. Maybe not at the level of fornication, but there are incidents that happen where people are accused of doing bad things, and everyone believes it. And people start backbiting and talking and having fun, and it's all completely false. Be careful. Don't fall into the trap. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam treated people with sensitivity. He was sensitive to their feelings. And once again gave them the benefit of the doubt. After the liberation of Mecca, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the believers entered Mecca victorious, there was a man by the name of Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. His father is Abu Jahl, the biggest enemy of Islam. The man who tried to kill Rasulullah ﷺ multiple times and plotted against the believers and eventually drove them out of Mecca. Terrible human being. The enemy of Allah, no question about it. His son, Ikrimah, was still alive. And his son was so scared when Rasulullah ﷺ came back to Mecca victorious that he fled. He was not a believer yet. He fled Mecca. But then he had a change of heart. And he wanted to become a Muslim. But he was afraid to come back to Mecca because he felt that if he came back, nobody is going to forgive him for what his father had done. And he was afraid they would kill him. So his wife, her name is Hakim, she decided to go to the Prophet ﷺ, and she told him that Ikrimah wants to come to Mecca, but he wants a guarantee of safety from you. Because if Rasulullah ﷺ guarantees someone's safety, then nobody will touch him. Rasulullah ﷺ gave him a guarantee of safety, without asking any questions. He said, yeah, he's safe, let him come back, no problem, we're not going to touch him. So she went and she told Ikrimah, and so he began coming back to Mecca. Now the Sahaba in Mecca heard that Ikrimah is coming back. So they started to talk about Ikrimah and his father. And they started to say, the son of the enemy of Allah is coming back. You see how they didn't call him by his name. They said the son of the enemy of Allah is coming back. Can you imagine how that stirs up emotions? The son of the enemy of Allah, everyone wants to kill him. That's what they started to say. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, stop. Stop. Ikrimah is indeed coming. But he's coming as a believer. He's coming, he's going to be one of you. He's a believer. Do not insult his father. Imagine Rasulullah ﷺ is telling them, do not insult Abu Jahl. Do not insult his father. How sensitive he is to the feelings of Ikrimah. So don't insult his father. This is Rasulullah ﷺ. This is our faith. He said, do not insult his father. Insulting his father does no good. It only agitates the living and it doesn't reach the dead. What do you get out of insulting a dead person? Nothing. That person's not going to feel it. You only irritate the people who are alive, who are related to him. Do not insult his father when he comes. Subhanallah. And Ikrimah in fact came. And when he came, Rasulullah ﷺ was sitting down, he stood up and he greeted him with warmth and affection to show everybody that Ikrimah is now a believer and he's one of us. And he deserves the treatment that every believer deserves. Ikrimah would later become a great Sahabi, and in fact he would die a martyr in the battle of Uhud. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how he acted. This is how he treated people, with kindness and respect and compassion. This is how he was sensitive to their feelings. A man walked into the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a Bedouin. He didn't know anything. He walked in and he started to urinate right there in the masjid, on the floor. I mean, they didn't have carpet back then, but he started urinating right there. The Sahaba, what is this? You're urinating in the masjid. They got upset. They were going to go up and stop him. He said, wait, leave him alone. Do not interrupt him. Let him finish. You see the sensitivity of Rasulullah? Let him finish. Don't interrupt. And then after the man finished urinating, Rasulullah said, come here, let me talk to you. And he brought him and he sat next to him. And he started to explain to him. He said, this is a masjid where we pray, where we read Quran, and it's not a place to urinate. If you want to urinate, you have to go somewhere else. He started to teach him. And he told the Sahaba, take some water and clean it up. That's it. There's no need to agitate the whole situation and make a scene and make the guy upset. He'll never come back to the masjid. Why would he come back if everyone treats him badly? He's never going to come back. But Rasulullah ﷺ, with his sensitivity, brought him closer to Islam. Subhanallah. The Prophet ﷺ, in so many ahadith, I don't have time actually to go through all of them, but in so many ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ taught us sensitivity towards others. For example, he told us that if 3 of you are together, 2 should not be talking without the third person. So 3 people are together, 2 of them should not talk separately. Everyone should talk together out of sensitivity and respect to that third person. The Prophet ﷺ said that he would start the salah, and his intent was to read a long surah. But then he would hear the crying of the babies. The babies are there in the masjid, they would cry. And he said, so I would shorten the salah. Because I was worried about how their mothers felt. You know, when the mother hears her baby crying, she gets worried. She wants to see what's wrong with the baby. So he would shorten the salah out of respect for the feelings of the mother. Subhanallah. So many more. The Prophet ﷺ said, if your servant brings you food, you have a servant, that servant brings you food. He said, you either have the servant sit with you and eat, or you feed them before you eat. Because they spent all day smelling the odors of the meal. Because they are the ones who cooked it. So they smelled it. So out of respect and out of sensitivity to their feelings, you either have them sit down and eat with you, or you feed them before you eat. And so many more. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله. الحمد لله ولي الصالحين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to share with you another story from the Prophet ﷺ in his time. But this was an important story because Quran was revealed. And the Quran that was revealed teaches us a lesson till this day. The Prophet ﷺ, this is narrated by Imam al-Bahawi in his tafsir, he said that the Prophet ﷺ, when he would travel, he would often put people in groups of 3. So 3 people, they would sleep together, eat together, so kind of to help each other out. So groups of 3. And on one particular trip, Salman al-Farisi, radiallahu anhu, one of the great Sahaba, was paired up with 2 people. But Salman was poor, he didn't have any money. These other 2 were wealthier. That's the narration, that's really not important, the story, but nevertheless, the two were a little bit wealthier and he was poorer than the other two. And these three were together, so they were helping each other. And Salman told the two, I will cook our meal for today. So they would eat together. And they said, okay, great. Well, thank you for that. And we're going to go attend to the horses and do some other things while you prepare the meal. So they left. The story is too exciting that I had to, subhanAllah. Anyway, it's like Allah khair. So they left him, but instead of cooking, he was tired, so he fell asleep. When they came back, there was no food. He was asleep. So they woke him up and they said, what happened? We're hungry. He said, oh, I was tired and I fell asleep. They said, well, what are we going to do now? We don't have any food. Maybe go and ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, see if he has any food left over. So he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I don't have any food either. Go and ask Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu. Go and ask him, see if he has any leftovers. Maybe he has some food left over. So he went, Salman al-Farisi went to Usama. And he said, Ya Usama, do you have any food? We're hungry. Do you have anything left over? Usama said, no, all our food finished. We ate it. We don't have anything left over. So he went back to the two in his group and he told them, Rasulullah doesn't have any food and Usama ibn Zayd doesn't have any food. They said, Usama is stingy. You see the insinuation here? They are insinuating that Usama had food, but he didn't want to share it. They said Usama, bakhil, he's stingy. So that's the first thing. They're backbiting Usama. The second thing is they are suspicious that Usama had food and didn't want to share it. So they told Salman, why don't you go ask other groups, maybe other people have some food. So that's what he did. He went around asking, nobody had any food. So he came back and he said, nobody has any food. So the two of them began to walk away, and while they were walking away, they were talking to each other, and they said, this guy Salman, he can't do anything. If we sent him to the well of Samiha, there was a well, the name of it, Samiha had a lot of water in it. If we send him to the well of Samiha, it will be dried up. He can't get anything done. So now they are backbiting Salman. They were backbiting Usama, now they are backbiting Salman. And the two of them said, why don't we go and see if Usama still has some food? Maybe he was lying. So they went secretly and to spy on Usama. So now they are spying to see if he had any food. So they stood aside and they were watching to see if Usama had any food. And they didn't see any food. There was nothing. And as they were walking back to their camp, they saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he greeted them, he said, I smell the odor of flesh coming from your mouth. I smell the odor of flesh coming from your mouth. They said, no, Ya Rasulullah, we haven't eaten anything. We haven't found any food. He said, yes, you did. You ate the flesh of Salman and the flesh of Usama. And Allah revealed Quran on your behalf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, من بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم. O you who believe, avoid much suspicion. Suspicion indeed is mostly false and a sin. And do not spy on one another. And do not backbite one another. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of your brother who is dead? Subhanallah. You would indeed hate it. Be mindful of Allah. Allah is the only one who accepts repentance, and He is the most merciful. Allah is teaching us how to act and how to behave. Don't be suspicious of people. Don't spy on people. Don't backbite people. Treat them the way you want to be treated. Treat them the way you want to be treated. It's a simple rule, and that's what we must follow. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تبارك ربنا وتعاليت لك الحمد على ما قضيت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم اهدنا لصالح الأعمال لا يهدي لصالحها إلا أنت. اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت. اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها مردنا. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعل كلمتي الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين بفضلك ورحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. إنك يا ربنا على ما تشاء قدير وبالإجابة جدير. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.